Good morning. I have a thought for you today. Why aren't there more women race car drivers? Now, of course, you're going to go straight to, well, it's sexist. Women haven't been in that field, which I'm sure is extremely legitimate. But I have another thought. Race car driving involves a lot of spatial awareness, understanding, analysis, the exactness. And I remember once someone told me, learn the size of your car. That's why when you get a rental car, it's a little tricky because you're not used to the size of that car. It's a different shape, different size, different height. So, and I started thinking about my awareness in this rental car. And I'm not saying I would be a good race car driver, but it definitely would be fun. I've done a little bit of track time with an instructor, which was great. I did a couple solo rides, but I didn't get up to out of that novice category. Anyway, that's an aside. Spatial reasoning, like I try to think about how I understand where to drive in the lane when I'm really paying attention. Obviously, I look around, I'm looking at my side mirrors too. So there are moments where I'm not looking out the front or I'm not looking at the side mirrors, etc. But I do look around a lot. But I could be drinking my coffee, eating my yogurt, looking at my maps. Yes, I admit it. But when I'm paying complete attention in this rental car, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to drive actually to the right, the most to the right of the lane as I can, because I'm using my cell phone to record this, and it's not, hold on. I was actually listening to music at the same time on my headphones, and it started to be too much input. Anyway, I try to drive to the right of the lane as much as possible because it's safe, without doing any damage to anything, because the phone is pointed toward the left of the road, and I want you to feel like you're in the car with me. So I'm driving as close to the edge of the right lane as I can. Obviously, when I'm on the highway, people aren't a big fan of that. So I don't do it quite as much if someone's in the lane to my right. Anyway, I look out my right side mirror and I like to see the edge of the car, because I can see the part of the car mostly that sticks out the most seems to be the door handles, from what I can tell. So I like to see the white line bordering the edge of the road right next to that, right to the right of that. So I see white line on the edge of the road, and then I see door handle. It's a Nissan Rogue. It's not my normal car. It's a rental car. I love to see that. I'm in the line. The edge of the car is basically parallel with the inside boundary, parallel and next to the inside boundary of that white line. And I can do that really well. And I started wondering, well, how do I do that? Do I look at a point on the hood and think, okay, that point on the hood should be in the middle of the line? Or do I think of the middle of the hood and where that should be in the lane? Am I lining things up? And I'm not, actually, which is interesting. I'm not using sort of like a little... For a minute there, I was paying attention to what I was saying and not paying attention to driving. So now I'm speeding up. See, sometimes I pay attention to other things. Anyway, like myself. Anyway, I'm not doing that. And it's interesting to me because I'm always curious about learning styles and how people do things, because I'm smart, but I have a lot of trouble with particular things. I'm not good at memorization, so I have to evolve formulas all the time. I'm not good at 50-50, actually. Like, does this lizard drop its tail or not? It's like, they're just certain things. Sometimes I can't remember which one it is. I did work on that lizard tail thing quite a bit, though. So I'm better at that, but it's like 50-50s are really hard for me, and I'm pretty much always going to pick the wrong thing. Even if I decide to pick against my intuition, whatever method I do, I can consistently go against what I think or go with what I think for months, and it won't matter. I'll always be wrong. Well, not always, a lot. Anyway, but what I'm doing here, a lot of tangents. What I'm doing here is I'm actually not thinking about lining anything up. It's weird, because the problem is if I do that, then I'm kind of looking at one point, because I'm looking at the point on the hood and the point on the lane, and they're basically intersecting, so it's kind of like one point. And I shouldn't really be looking at just one point. I should be looking out ahead of me. I should be looking in side mirrors, rear view, but I don't know how I do it. I just, like, when I check the side mirror, if I want to be driving like that, I just do it, and I'm like, that's interesting. And it got me to thinking about women and racing, because it's such a spatial. It's not just about, cars and engines and tools, and it's not just about speed, let me be fast, and it's not about competition. I mean, yeah, it is about all that, but it's the biggest, most important skill, because a lot of people can get in shape and they're still not good racers. A lot of people can be mechanics or whatever, love cars, but what they really need is that real, it's not just strategy, but that real spatial understanding. I'm gonna let this guy go because I'm starting to go a little fast here, and he's there's a car on the side of the road. I'm gonna let him off the accelerator. I just want to be respectful. Now I'm gonna move over so Speed Demon can go on with that's a pretty color brown. I thought you were black when I looked in the mirror, but because the sun was on you. You're really dark. I like that. I like seeing cars like, here's a pretty color. Is that like a purplish? I just feel like there's so many black, gray, silver, tan, white, all these like really boring neutral colors. But that's a really pretty like purple on that Corolla. I like these colors that are a little different. Like, you don't see like fuchsia cars that often, unless it's like some high-end sports car or something. But it's like, I definitely got on a tangent. So, and it's not that women aren't capable of great spatial understanding. Obviously they are. I just think that you have two factors I'm going to go with. This is my personal theory, blah, blah, blah. Is my personal theory about women, females, I'm sorry if you're offended. Generally speaking, the average female spatial understanding versus the average male. I think there's the first factor that kind of affects that divergence traditionally is that in hunter and gathering societies, for the most part, where did I just put my sunglasses? I'm dying here now. Okay. Anyway, the men were hunting and the women were gathering and whatever. Okay, generally, not always. Anyway, so you need a really great spatial understanding. This is stuff I've heard before. You need a great spatial understanding for hunting, right? So our eyes are on the front of our faces to be able to give us really good spatial understanding of distances. Like when you're looking through, it's harder when you're on a plane with no obstacles to be able to see anything, but when you're looking through a forest or something that has plants here and there, and you're looking far away, you can tell how far away things are, maybe how fast they're moving, based on other objects that are still and not moving, or other things that are moving. So that's a really helpful skill when you're hunting, obviously. And so this is sort of something that over time would be favored as a, let's call it a genetic characteristic or mutation or innate ability, which could be improved through environment. So you got nature and nurture, right? You got the nature, you got the genetic, you got the nurture, which is basically, that was kind of an established evolutionary trait of male and female humans. And now, so then you start talking about schooling and education becoming an institutional practice instead of home schooling, village schooling, family schooling, which was obviously for much of our existence the primary way of getting educated. Now we have institutions and we're dividing things into, this is English, this is math, this is physics, this is chemistry, this is history, this is whatever, art, music. These are all your subjects, and you're really kind of dividing things up. I don't like this lane. It's heavily populated, but, and I don't like the way this guy drives. It could be his, it could, I'm learning. It could just be their car. It might not be their fault because of the assistive driving. Anyway, because this car has assistive driving and I had to turn most of it off. The only one I use is to slow down when you're in on cruise control. So if I'm not paying attention, it'll slow down and not keep going the same speed. Because I always wondered, like, if you're on cruise control and you suddenly go in the middle of the median, I understand the traction is going to tell the car that it should not be still in cruise control. But if you're going straight on pavement and you fall asleep and you got cruise control on, you're fucked. Oh, did you see that guy on the side of the road? That was an interessante situation. Oh, okay, go on, so it's Silverado. Okay, anyway, so where was I? Okay, so males would tend to have a greater spatial understanding due to practices, right? That would be taught and learned, but it would also become a genetic trait as that skill becoming better makes you a more skilled hunter, makes you be able to provide for your family, your offspring, your village, or whatever, and therefore it would be something that would be more likely to be carried on in your offspring as a genetic mutation, because you would be able to sustain your offspring better to survive to adulthood, to carry on your genes. Anyway, so then you start with institutional school, and you basically have people sitting down at desks, okay? So females tend to be better at this task. This is just another aside, because in gathering, you're not moving around a lot. I mean, you're walking, you're digging, it's definitely good exercise, but you're not going for a long walk. You're not carrying heavy things back. You're not, you're just kind of chill, right? And when you're preparing meals, which is also a more traditional female role, when you're preparing meals, it's a lot of work, but you're standing in one place. So this is also why women tend to have better color vision, because in hunting, in gathering, you need to understand coloration of your produce, because then you'll know, I don't like this lane, then you'll know when things are ripe, when things are toxic, when, etc. Anyway, through color and smell. Women tend to have better smell, I think, too, but I'm not sure on that one. That one I think I'm guessing. I don't know if I've actually heard that. I changed because I could see everyone was slowing down. Left lane was getting crowded. I knew there were a lot of heavy trucks here. Once we were going up that hill, we're good with hills for a minute. I could be wrong now that lane's moving, but anyway, so we'll see if we see Mr. Brown truck again. I don't know if he came this way. I think he did. Anyway, that's why it's good to see who you're with. So females tend to do better sitting at a desk and, doing all those kinds of things, because when you're cooking, you're standing still. You are moving around, but from one space to another within the same room typically, or even the same, 6 square feet or whatever. So that I can understand the difficulty with boys sitting still at a desk as well. So then what you end up happening is in math and science, it's using more of these analytical spatial type skills, and I don't know. Anyway, it just seems like it's reinforced somehow in schools, that it's sort of like, oh, well, Johnny's good at this, so we'll go ahead and make and reinforce that by saying, oh, you're good at math, you're good at this, you're good at physics, you're good at, I don't know, whatever takes spatial reasoning. I don't know. I'm not an educational expert on this matter. But anyway, you're good at these things, and so you're going to study these things, and that's what you're going to do. Oh, here's Betty, and Betty's good at this. She's not so great at the, whatever. So you got nature and nurture. I mean, I'm sure you guys can understand the nurture side of the spatial stuff. I covered the evolutionary bit for you. But anyway, oh yeah, I forgot this. I actually might want to stay in the right lane. This is a shitty, everyone moves over, but we'll see. I moved over because I saw the right lane wasn't as good as it had been. Anyway, I might be moving over again, but not quite yet. So this is part of the contributing factor. Okay, you have a lot of reasons why women might not get into racing, which are mostly apparent: male-dominated, mechanic, competition, machine, engine, good old boys club, all that kind of stuff, whatever. But also, you're not going to have as many females in general until we start encouraging that behavior and helping young girls with, instead of saying, oh, well, forget about it, you're not good at this, why don't you do English, why don't you do this, why don't you whatever. I'm just throwing out another stereotype, but meaning literature and writing. Anyway, I don't like this lane. So that's why I think I'm going to move over and get in front of the truck that's coming, the dump truck. Now I get to be behind the Amazon. So that's my theory on why there are so few female racers, and it's important to know the size of your car. Have a great day. It's Monday.